This episode is sponsored by Calm Mind Behavioral Health Counseling. If the topics we explore today resonate with you, it might be a sign to seek a supportive space for your own journey. Michael C. Thompson, a licensed professional counselor behind Calm Mind, offers convenient and confidential online therapy, allowing you to engage from the comfort of your own home. He specializes in helping individuals navigate complex challenges like depression, men's issues, and addictive behaviors by fostering deep self-awareness and genuine self-compassion. Take the first step and visit calmmind.life to schedule a free, no-obligation 15-minute consultation. Hello, and welcome to the Mindful Insights Podcast. I'm Charlie Michaels, and I am so glad to be joined by my brilliant friend and co-host, Michelle Thomas.
It is great to be here, Charlie. And today we're embarking on a topic that is so prevalent in our culture, yet so profoundly misunderstood. We've seen from the emails we're getting that our listeners are really trying to find the language for these complex relational patterns.
Absolutely are. We got an email from a listener, Sarah from Ontario, Canada, that really stood out. She wrote, "My mother is the most charming person you'll ever meet, but everything is a performance. I'll never forget my brother's graduation dinner. He was talking about his future plans, and my mother suddenly gasped, claiming she was having heart palpitations from the emotional stress of it all. Instantly, the entire table's attention shifted to her. It's like if the spotlight moves away from her for a second, she has to create a crisis to pull it back." Your introductory episode on cluster B disorders was the first time I realized this wasn't just a personality quirk, but a pattern. It was both validating and heartbreaking.
That email gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? That feeling of being an actor in someone else's drama. What Sarah is describing touches on some of the traits of histrionic personality disorder, another cluster B condition, and it's a perfect bridge to our topic today, narcissistic personality disorder. Because at their core, both are driven by a desperate need for external validation. Today, we're unpacking the most sensationalized diagnosis of them all.
We are, and our goal in this first of two parts is to deconstruct the caricature and build a foundational, compassionate understanding of the disorder itself. And before we dive in, just a general reminder that while we explore topics related to emotional well-being, we are not mental health professionals. This conversation is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for therapy or advice from a qualified professional. Please be sure to seek out guidance for your individual needs.
So, Michelle, let's start at the very foundation. When you stripped away all the pop psychology, what is narcissistic personality disorder from a clinical perspective?
It's so important to start there with the actual clinical definition. The DSM-5-TR defines NPD as a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy that begins by early adulthood. And the keywords there are pervasive and pattern. This isn't just arrogance or selfishness in certain situations. It's a rigid and enduring way of relating to the world that causes significant impairment or distress.
That clinical threshold is what's completely lost online. You see these viral videos on #NarcTalk reducing this complex disorder to a checklist of behaviors like they talk about themselves a lot. It's repurposed the term from a specific medical diagnosis into this catch-all cultural insult for an ex-partner or a difficult parent.
It's a total flattening of a very complex reality. The online caricature is this one-dimensional, supremely confident villain. But the clinical reality is so much more complicated and, frankly, so much more tragic.
Let's walk through that clinical reality. To be diagnosed, a person has to exhibit at least 5 of 9 specific traits. The first is a grandiose sense of self-importance, exaggerating achievements and expecting to be seen as superior without the accomplishments that back it up. This is paired with a preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success, power, or ideal love.
And this feeds into the belief that they are special and unique and can only be understood by other high-status people. It's a very insular and self-referential worldview.
It is. And to maintain that view, they have a deep need for excessive admiration. This isn't just vanity. Their self-esteem is incredibly fragile and requires a constant supply of praise from others to stay afloat. This leads directly to a sense of entitlement, an unreasonable expectation of favorable treatment, and a willingness to exploit others to achieve their own ends.
And at the core of that exploitation is the most well-known trait, a profound lack of empathy. This is an unwillingness or inability to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of other people. And it's not always that they can't understand what someone is feeling. Sometimes their cognitive empathy is quite sharp, which makes them effective manipulators. It's that they lack emotional empathy, the ability to actually feel for another person or prioritize their emotional state.
That's a brilliant distinction. The list is rounded out by being envious of others or believing others are envious of them, and a pattern of arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. When you see them all together, it paints a picture of a person trapped in a fortress of superiority.
But what social media gets so wrong is conflating these patterns with normal human behavior. Narcissism exists on a spectrum. Taking pride in an accomplishment or wanting attention is not NPD. The line is crossed when these traits become rigid, pervasive, and lead to serious impairment in a person's life. Labeling normal adolescent self-focus as a personality disorder, for instance, is not just inaccurate, it's deeply harmful. It pathologizes a normal stage of identity formation.
That is the perfect place to pause. When we come back, we'll dive deeper into the two very different faces of narcissism, one of which is almost completely invisible to the popular eye.
For all the exhausted men out there who feel trapped in emotionally unstable relationships, Reclaiming Your Reality is here to help. Do you constantly question your own reality? The workbook, Reclaiming Your Reality, A Man's Guide to Healing from the Exhaustion, Emasculation, and Entrapment of an Emotionally Unstable Relationship, is for you. It provides the tools to understand the chaos, set powerful boundaries, and start rebuilding your life based on your own values. Stop walking on eggshells and start reclaiming your reality. Find the workbook on Amazon or learn more at calmmind.life.
Welcome back to Mindful Insights. Before the break, we laid out the clinical criteria for NPD, but one of the biggest errors in the popular understanding is the assumption that it always looks the same. Clinically, we know there are two primary expressions, grandiose and vulnerable narcissism.
And social media almost exclusively portrays the grandiose type. That's the classic, stereotypical narcissist, overtly arrogant, socially dominant, charming, and exploitative. They exude a confidence that can be captivating, and they actively seek the spotlight to get that admiration they crave. This is the caricature everyone knows.
Exactly. But the other presentation, vulnerable narcissism, is far more subtle and internally focused. It's sometimes called covert narcissism because it's so easily missed. These individuals share the same grandiose fantasies and sense of entitlement, but they are masked by an exterior of defensiveness, hypersensitivity, and insecurity.
It's such a different picture. Instead of being the life of the party, the vulnerable narcissist may be shy, withdrawn, or anxious. They are extremely sensitive to criticism, which triggers intense feelings of shame and humiliation. Their grandiosity is hidden. It's a secret belief that they are special and unrecognized, leading to a bitter resentment that the world has failed to see their greatness.
And instead of overt manipulation, they may use more passive-aggressive tactics or play the victim to gain attention and control. It's crucial to understand that these aren't always two different people. Many individuals with NPD fluctuate between these two states. The grandiose bravado is often a defense against that profound underlying vulnerability.
And social media, with its simplistic checklists, completely misses this. It trains people to look for the loud, arrogant prototype, causing them to be completely blind to the more common, introverted, and internally distressed presentations of the disorder.
It's a profound misrepresentation.
And it leads to the biggest misunderstanding of all, the belief that the grandiosity is a sign of genuine, unbreakable self-love. But the clinical reality is the exact opposite, isn't it?
It is the dead opposite, and that paradox is the true heart of the disorder. We'll explore that internal world of fragility right after this. Looking for a story that's as gripping as it is insightful? The novel Anger's Bitch by Michael C. Thompson is a character-driven drama that pulls you in from the first page and doesn't let go. It's a powerful story about the weight of the past and the courage it takes to earn a second chance. With unforgettable characters and a plot that keeps you guessing, this is more than just a book, it's an experience. If you love a story with soul, heart, and suspense, Anger's Bitch is your next must-read. Available now on Amazon.
Welcome back. We're discussing the core paradox of narcissistic personality disorder. The social media narrative focuses entirely on the external behaviors, framing the narcissist as a cold, calculating perpetrator with sky-high self-esteem. But this erases the profound internal suffering that is the engine of the disorder.
That's the key. The grandiosity is not a sign of genuine self-love. It is a desperate, brittle defense against a deeply fragile and unstable sense of self. Think of their sense of self-worth like a kite without any wind of its own. It's a beautiful, elaborate thing, but it's utterly lifeless on the ground. To feel airborne, to feel real, it needs a constant, powerful updraft from other people, their praise, their envy, their attention. That's the only thing that gets it off the ground.
Let's just pause on that image for a second. A kite without wind. That so perfectly captures that sense of desperate dependency. It's not flying, it's being held up by something external.
Exactly. And that's why their entire sense of self-worth is externally regulated. Unlike healthy self-esteem, which is like a sturdy tree with deep roots, their self-worth requires that constant validation from the outside world. They need that continuous narcissistic supply, that updraft, just to stay afloat.
And because they are so dependent on that external wind, any sudden change is catastrophic.
Absolutely. A minor critique, which a healthy person might barely notice, is experienced by them as the wind completely dying. The kite instantly crashes to the ground. That catastrophic collapse is the narcissistic injury. The reaction, the explosive rage or contempt, is a frantic attempt to create a storm, to kick up enough dust and fury to get the kite airborne again, no matter who gets hurt in the process.
And this is what makes it so fundamentally different from healthy high self-esteem. Healthy self-worth is intrinsic. It's a feeling of being good enough. Narcissistic self-worth is extrinsic and comparative. It's not about feeling good, it's about feeling better than others.
That's such a crucial point. Healthy self-esteem allows you to get along with others, fostering empathy and warmth. Pathological narcissism is all about getting ahead and is defined by antagonism and exploitation.
Exactly. And there's fascinating physiological research that proves this hidden vulnerability. Studies have found that when anticipating a social evaluation, like giving a speech, children with high self-esteem show reduced signs of stress. But children with narcissistic traits show significant hyperarousal. Their fight-or-flight system goes into overdrive. Despite the outward bravado, their bodies are treating social evaluation as a profound threat.
Wow. That provides a biological marker for the whole concept of narcissistic fragility. So the ultimate takeaway for today is that to truly understand NPD, we have to flip the popular narrative on its head. The caricature of the supremely confident villain is a fiction. The clinical reality is one of profound internal fragility, where an elaborate and arrogant defense is constructed to hide a core of shame, insecurity, and an unbearable fear of being seen as ordinary.
That is the perfect synthesis. The social media stereotype mistakes the defense mechanism for the person, and in doing so, misses the suffering entirely. Let's just pause on that for a second. We know that the unconditional companionship of an animal can be a powerful force for healing. Their presence can ease anxiety, lift depression, and provide a steady, non-judgmental anchor in a chaotic world. But sometimes housing rules can create a heartbreaking barrier. That's where an emotional support animal, or ESA letter, becomes so important. An official ESA letter from a licensed professional provides the necessary documentation to request reasonable accommodation for your animal in most no-pet housing situations, as protected under the Fair Housing Act. If you believe an ESA is a vital part of your mental health journey, Michael C. Thompson offers professional and ethical consultations. Learn more and see if you qualify at calmmind.life/ESA. That's calmmind.life/ESA.
Charlie, that was an essential foundation to lay. I think starting with the reality of the internal pain and fragility is the only responsible way to approach this topic.
I couldn't agree more, Michelle. We have to deconstruct the myth before we can understand the reality. Thank you for helping us do that today. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us for Part 1. We hope you'll join us next time for Part 2, where we'll explore the devastating impact of these patterns on relationships and careers, dive into the neurobiology, and discuss the challenging but hopeful path to treatment. You've been listening to the Mindful Insights podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please consider subscribing and maybe share it with someone you think might need to hear it. You never know who you might be helping. Until next time, be kind to your mind.